channel. We're here for the second month of this little like book swap thing me and Aoife are doing. So the first one, I think we're doing the second one, so it obviously went alright. She really liked my book and I didn't really like her book, so that was interesting. So last month's theme was romance and this month's theme is like fantasy, but I've kind of stretched what fantasy means because I don't read a lot of fantasy books. Like, I like fantasy books, but I'm very fussy with what types. Like, I don't know, I'm very fussy. My main like fantasy books I read is all like kind of like normal like worlds and then like magical worlds combined. So like basically Harry Potter is probably the most fantasy thing I've ever read. Yeah, I haven't really strayed too far from that. A few fantasy books I've read have been along the same lines of normal people living amongst these like wizardy type like magical creature things. So yeah, so my book that I recommended to her isn't, I don't know if it's strictly fantasy, but it's kind of like, it's not real, like it's not, this isn't happening right now, so it does fit into it that way. But yeah, it's not as fantasy as hers. Hers I would be more like traditional fantasy. But yeah, enough of me like blabbing on or trying to explain the what's the word? The definition of fantasy. But yeah, let's actually move on and talk about the books that we have gotten for each other. Okay, so the book I have recommended to Aoife is More Than This by Patrick Ness. So it's kind of a thriller fantasy slash sci-fi, kind of a bit of all that stuff in it. I don't know if it's dark. I wouldn't say it was like there's no like really disturbing scenes in it, other than the whole thing whenever you look back and you think about this book, it's actually really creepy. So it's about this boy and he drowns and he dies, but then he wakes up and he's like alive and fine, you know. So first off, to start that, what? And he's in this like really strange place, but he recognises it from somewhere. By the way, there's spoilers in this video, so yeah. So he's really like confused. I remember drowning, and now I'm in a completely different place to where I was. So it's kind of like, is there an afterlife? What if it's not an actual afterlife, but it's actually real life? So basically the whole book is about, so I'm going to spoil it for you. Basically he wakes up and he's like in this coffin, and it's kind of futuristic in this way because he's, in his head, he's lived a life and he has died in his head, he's drowned, but he wakes up and he's completely fine. And it's because this, I can't remember what exactly, if it was overpopulation or if the world had just got so bad that everyone was like, we're going for a fresh start. And this whole like science lab thing, basically everyone goes to sleep, but they're connected, their heads are connected to this thing, and they live a second life in their head. So it's sci-fi with that because we don't have that yet, but that's probably something that could happen. Like I can see that happen in like 100 years time. So it's really, really creepy, and he's discovering this and he's remembering stuff from like real life, and then he's being like, but this bit was in my head, and he was trying, and then it goes through as to why his family decided to do this whole coffin living in your head, kind of dying but not dying thing. I don't know if it's dystopian, I don't know. The real life world now, and because everyone has went into these coffins and is living inside their head and in computers, the real world is just like, it's like an apocalypse. That all those movies like you see what a world looks like after the apocalypse, that's what it looks like. So that's him trying to like find out what's happened and what's he gonna do. I actually can't remember the ending of this book because I read it 2 times and it was a while ago. All of these books are like a while ago, but I really, really liked it, and like it stays with me. Like when somebody says, have you read More Than This by Patrick Ness? I feel like I see it come up on Instagram or something that's like, that book creeped me out so much. So apologies Aoife if you haven't slept for like 3 nights. But yeah, not strictly fantasy, but it is a really, really good book. It definitely gets you thinking. So it does. Okay, so that is what I recommended to Aoife, and she has recommended me To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christou. So by the cover of it, It definitely looks like, not, it's a dark cover, both these books are like dark, but it definitely would give you this more like mythical style fantasy, like with the sword and the like octopus tentacles and stuff. It's more like weird creatures in like maybe like an old land or something. That's kind of the vibe you get from this. And it does say, on my copy anyway, perfect for fans of Leigh Bardugo, which is Aoife's like favourite author, I think, and definitely her favourite series. I got this book from Depop. It's literally such great condition. I'm very well chuffed. She's going to tell me why she recommended this book to me in this clip.
So for this month I recommended To Kill a Kingdom to Zoe for fantasy. It's a standalone because she specifically asked for a standalone, so she shouldn't have to start a whole new series. It's also quite a small book, but they managed to fit a lot into it. It's proper fantasy, so it's got like sirens and ships and pirates and all that. So I figured I'd throw her into the deep end, pun intended, because she doesn't read as much fantasy. And yeah, I hope she enjoys it, I guess, or enjoyed it.
So that is why she has recommended the book to me. So now I'm going to tell you what I thought. There will be spoilers. So I'm going to be honest, the first like 5 to 10 chapters was a bit iffy. I was like, this is really hard to get into. I don't know if I want to like this. There wasn't a lot going on, which I feel like you do find a lot of fantasy books. Like the first 100 pages are like getting used to the terminology and like all these different creatures and ways and stuff. So there was that. So it's from 2 point of views. I should actually probably tell you what the book's about first, shouldn't I? Yeah, that would be helpful. Sorry. So there's these creatures called sirens, and they're like mermaids, but like they're not nice mermaids. They like kill people. By like going up to ships and like singing a song and like bringing them into the water and drowning them, and then they take their hearts. So the siren we're called is Princess Lyra. So she's like a siren royalty. She's a princess of like these, princess of the water, basically, of like the sea. And so every year she kills a heart for her birthday. That's like a present to herself, because what more would you want? And then Prince Elaine, is that right? A lion? People just have normal names, please. So he's a human. He's heir to the throne. So he is, but he prefers to be like a pirate. So he is the captain of a ship that is renowned for killing these sirens. So basically, you can kind of figure Lyra and your man aren't the best of terms to start with. They both want to kill each other and have both been hunting each other for years, etc., etc. And then it comes to it that he has to kill her because Lyra has done something that is like kind of shook all of the kingdoms. And then Lyra has been, she's not been good. You're meant to only kill on your birthday, but she killed like 2 weeks before it. So her mother was like, you have to get the prince in human form. So she like puts a spell, the sea queen puts a spell on the princess to take away like her ability to swim and her mermaid tail and everything. And she has to be a human, and she has to kill the prince without her special powers to show that she's really powerful and like she's to prove her worth. Now that we've got that, so yeah, it's 2 point of views. So Lyra and your prince guy, it switches between them. The first half of the book, I preferred the prince's point of view because there's kind of a lot more like jokes. It's kind of witty. His like first mate and his like wee ship friends are quite funny, so they are. But then in the second half, when it got like a lot more like heated and like, I mean like in terms of fighting and like heated arguments, and it was building up to like the final battle, I much preferred the siren's point of view, Lyra's, because it was more interesting because she understood more like what that was when all the mermaids came up to land and ready to fight people. I find that more interesting because she understood more of it, so she would get better descriptions. Kind of a really roundabout way of telling you what the story was about. So yeah, I prefer different point of views in certain halves of the book. It was a bit hard to get into, but see, probably by about like, I don't know, halfway through I was really into it, so I was. And I did make some kind of mistake, I don't know, of whenever I start a book, I always like to know the number of pages I read. So I like flipped forward to the last page to see how much numbers it was, and I accidentally read the last sentence. So the last sentence is, she pulls me closer to her, her fingers held tight over mine, and together we dive. So I had read that and I was like, this doesn't sound like a good ending, someone's gonna die. Because obviously the sirens are renowned for singing to people on ships, getting them into the water so that they can kill them. So I was like, what? Have I just ruined it for me? Have I just ruined it? They're gonna die. But yeah, that's spoiler window. It's actually, it was a very unexpected ending. It really, really was. Like, I was not expecting the whole perspective of Lyra and her mentality to change. Like, she got a full 180, and I was not expecting that, because like she was so adamant for like the first half of the book that this is in the first 3/4 of the book. She was so adamant. I was like, yeah, you're not you. Like, there was romance. You can probably figure out between who, but it was like a very subtle romance. So it was. It was very like, it was there. We had to look for it. But even with it being there, I was still like, no, she's still gonna like stab him in the back. She's totally going to. But she didn't, and the ending was actually like a really pretty, like fairy tale ending, which from this you would not get. Like, looking at that, you would not think that had a happy ending. And like, it was a bit gory. Like, there is a lot of murdering and fighting, and it's quite descriptive. One of the ones, Lyra kills a mermaid because the mermaid tries to get her man, basically. When Lyra's still in the siren form. So they're in the ocean, and what Lyra literally does is she grabs the mermaid's head, digs her nails into her head, and rips it off. I mean, fair play. But yeah, overall, I did actually enjoy this book. It did take me a while to get into. The first day or two reading it, I was like, when does this get exciting? But then it got exciting, and then I finished it in like a day. So yeah, I did really like it, but it was good and it was interesting, okay? And it was something different for me. I probably would not have read it. Like, if I saw it in the shop, I probably wouldn't have picked it up. So that was good. I got to like try it out anyway. But yeah, it was good, much better than last month's. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that video of these two books. Aoife's video will also be up at the same time, and I will link it down below so you can go see her review of my book, and I can go see her review of this too, because we don't discuss these with each other. So we literally, the first time we hear about them is the same time you hear. So it's new for us too. And yeah, unexpected. But yeah, if you enjoyed that, please like, subscribe, share to my channel, her channel. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.